In the heart of a bustling African city, where the streets hummed with life and the air buzzed with ambition, there lived a man named Kofi Mensah. Kofi was the kind of man who turned heads wherever he went. Handsome, charming, and with a smile that could light up the darkest room, he seemed to have it all. A beautiful wife, a decent job, and a life many envied. But behind that dazzling smile lay a web of lies, a secret life that would eventually unravel and leave him with nothing but regret. Kofi Mensah was a master of deception. To the world, he was a loving husband to his wife, Oma, a woman whose beauty and grace were the talk of the city. But behind closed doors, Kofi was a player, a man who couldn't resist the thrill of the chase. He had a system, a clever one at that. Whenever one of his side chicks called, he would answer with a code name. If Oma was around, he would say, "Hello, carpenter," or "Hello, engineer," and the girl on the other end would know to play along. One evening, as Kofi sat on his balcony sipping a cold drink, his phone rang. Oma was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Kofi glanced at the caller ID. It was Ajua, one of his side chicks. He answered, "Hello, Pastor," Ajua giggled on the other end. "Kofi, you're such a fool. When are you coming to see me?" Kofi lowered his voice. "Not now, Pastor. I'm busy with church matters." Oma walked in, carrying a plate of jollof rice. "Who was that?" she asked. Kofi smiled innocently. "Oh, just Pastor Yo." He wanted to discuss the church fundraiser. Oma raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She had heard the name Pastor too many times to believe it was always the same person. Oma's suspicions grew with each passing day. She noticed how Kofi's phone always seemed to ring at the most inconvenient times, during dinner, in the middle of the night, even during their rare moments of intimacy. She also noticed how Kofi's wallet was always empty, despite his decent job as a sales manager. One day, Oma decided to confront him. "Kofi," she said, her voice steady but firm, "where is all our money going?" Kofi laughed nervously. "Oma, my love, you know how work is these days. The economy is tough." Oma wasn't convinced. She had heard rumors from her friends, whispers of Kofi's escapades with other women. But she had no proof, and without proof, she could do nothing. That night, as Kofi slept soundly, Oma crept out of bed and took his phone. She scrolled through his messages, her heart pounding with each new revelation. There were messages from carpenter, engineer, pastor, conductor, and plumber. Each one was a woman, each one a betrayal. Oma's hands trembled as she put the phone back. She felt a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. How could Kofi do this to her? She had given him everything, her love, her loyalty, her youth. And this was how he repaid her. The next morning, Oma went to see her best friend, ESI, who lived in the same apartment building. ESI was a no-nonsense woman who always gave straight advice. "ESI," Oma said, her voice breaking, "I think Kofi is cheating on me." ESI nodded slowly. "Oma, I've been telling you for months. That man is not to be trusted. He's like a spider, weaving a web of lies. But remember, even the spider's web can be destroyed by the wind." Oma wiped her tears. "What should I do, ESI?" ESI took Oma's hand. "Be patient, my friend. The truth will reveal itself in time. And when it does, you must be strong." Oma left ESI's apartment feeling a little better. She knew what she had to do. She would wait and watch. And when the time came, she would confront Kofi with the truth. Meanwhile, Kofi, unaware of Oma's discovery, continued his double life. He spent more and more money on his side chicks, buying them gifts and taking them out to expensive restaurants. His savings dwindled, but he didn't care. He was living the high life, or so he thought. One evening, Kofi received a call from engineer. It was Akojoa, his newest side chick. She was young, beautiful, and demanding. "Kofi," Akojoa purred, "I need a new phone. My old one is broken." Kofi hesitated. He was running low on cash, but he couldn't say no to Akojo. "All right, my love. I'll get it for you." That night, Kofi told Oma he had to work late. He went to the electronics store and bought Akojo the latest smartphone. As he handed it to her, she kissed him on the cheek. "You're the best, Kofi," she said. Kofi smiled, but deep down, he felt a pang of guilt. He pushed it aside. After all, he was just having a little fun. What harm could it do? But the cracks were starting to show. Oma's patience was wearing thin. She had been watching Kofi closely, and the signs were undeniable. He was cheating on her, and he wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. One evening, as Kofi was getting ready to go out, Oma confronted him. "Kofi," she said, her voice cold, "where are you going?" Kofi avoided her gaze. "I have a meeting with some business partners." Oma crossed her arms. "At this hour? And who are these business partners?" "Carpenter, engineer, pastor." Kofi's eyes widened. "Oma, what are you talking about?" Oma stepped closer. "I know about your side chicks, Kofi. I've seen your messages. I know everything." Kofi's heart raced. He had been caught, and there was no way out. But instead of admitting his guilt, he lashed out. "You're just jealous. You can't handle the fact that other women want me." Oma's eyes filled with tears. "Jealous? Kofi, I've given you everything. And this is how you repay me." Kofi turned away. "I don't have time for this. I'm leaving." As he walked out the door, Oma sank to the floor, her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. She had given Kofi her all, and he had thrown it away like it was nothing. Kofi's life began to spiral out of control. His side chicks demanded more and more from him, and his finances were in shambles. He started borrowing money from friends and even took out a loan from a shady moneylender. Meanwhile, Oma had had enough. She packed her bags and left Kofi, moving in with ESI. Kofi didn't even try to stop her. He was too busy trying to keep up with his double life. But the cracks were starting to show. One by one, his side chicks began to abandon him. They realized that Kofi was all talk and no substance. He couldn't give them the life he had promised, and they moved on to richer, more reliable men. Kofi was left alone, his wallet empty, his health deteriorating. He had contracted HIV from one of his side chicks, but he was too ashamed to seek help. He became a shadow of his former self, a cautionary tale in the city. One day, Kofi went to see ESI. He was desperate, his life in ruins. "ESI," he said, his voice trembling, "I need your help." ESI looked at him with pity. "Kofi, you have brought this upon yourself. You wove a web of lies, and now you are trapped in it." Kofi bowed his head. "I know, ESI. I was a fool. But is there any way I can make things right?" ESI sighed. "It's too late for that, Kofi. Oma has moved on. She has found happiness with another man. You must live with the consequences of your actions." Kofi's heart sank. He had lost everything: his wife, his money, his health. And there was no one to blame but himself. Oma, meanwhile, had found love with Kwame, a kind and honest man who treated her with the respect she deserved. They built a life together, filled with love, laughter, and happiness. One evening, as they sat on their balcony watching the sunset, Oma thought about Kofi. She felt a pang of sadness, but it was quickly replaced by gratitude. She had escaped the spider's web, and she was finally free. The story of Kofi Mensah spread throughout the city, a cautionary tale for all who heard it. The elders would tell it to the young ones, warning them of the dangers of greed, deceit, and infidelity, and so, the tale of the spider's web of lies became a part of the city's folklore, a reminder that honesty and loyalty are the true treasures of life. Kofi's health continued to decline, and he spent his final days alone, filled with regret. He realized too late that the love he had thrown away was the most precious thing he had ever had. As he took his last breath, he whispered Omar's name, a final plea for forgiveness. But it was too late. The spider's web had collapsed, and Kofi was left with nothing but the consequences of his actions.